Welcome to the Native Child Podcast, where we journey into the roots of Zimbabwean identity, one totem at a time. Today, we step into one of the most fascinating and layered totems in Zimbabwean culture, a totem that carries the shadow of the giraffe, the strength of the elephant, and the grace of the eland. A totem connected to Dande, to Mbire, to white cloth, to ivory, to gold, to Portuguese traders, and to one of the most prestigious symbols of old world wealth, the Ndoro. Today we speak of the Nhari Totem, also known as Nhari Unendoro, the people of the white shell, the people of the white cloth, vana vejirajena. Let's begin with a story, like always. Long ago, in the hot breath of the Zambezi Valley, where the land stretches wide and the rivers carry secrets older than memory, there lived a young boy of Dande. His name was Tapiwa. Tapiwa was not the strongest boy in the village. He was not the fastest hunter. He was not the loudest among other children. But Tapiwa had something that even the elders noticed. He watched, he listened, he remembered. When the hunters spoke of animal tracks, Tapiwa remembered which hoofprint belonged to which creature. When the elders spoke of old paths through the valley, Tapiwa remembered where each path led. When traders came from far places, carrying strange goods and speaking unfamiliar tongues, Tapiwa did not hide behind the huts like the other children. He stood near the fire. He washed their hands. He listened to the way they counted. He studied the way they exchanged ivory, beads, shells, and cloth. One afternoon, a group of foreign traders arrived near the settlement. Among their items was a cloth so bright it seemed to hold the light of the sun. White cotton cloth, clean, smooth, almost spiritual. At that time, many people still wore animal skins, bark cloth, and locally made garments. But this cloth was different. It was not just clothing, it was status. It was wealth. It was proof that a person had entered a wider world of trade, power, and influence. The elders gathered. Ivory was brought forward. Gold was weighed. Words were exchanged. The traders looked at the elders, then at the goods, then at the young boy standing quietly nearby. One of the elders noticed Tapiwa's eyes following every movement. He smiled and said, "This child sees more than he says." Later that evening, as the sun fell behind the hills of Dande, the elder called Tapiwa forward. He placed a piece of white cloth over the boy's shoulder. Then he lifted a white shell to his Ndoro and held it up for all to see. The shell shone in the firelight. The elders said, "This is not only beauty, this is memory, this is trade, this is dignity. This is the sign of those who know how to walk between worlds." The people answered with praise, "Maita Dande, vana vejirajena." Thank you to those of Dande, children of the white cloth. And from that day, Tapiwa understood that a totem was not only an animal. A totem was a story, a journey, a symbol, a wound, a victory, a memory carried in the blood. And for the Nhari people, that memory would travel through the giraffe, through the elephant, through the eland, through the white shell, and through the white cloth. Who are the Nhari? Well, the Nhari totem is one of Zimbabwe's most unique and prestigious lineages. It is often spoken of as Nhari Unendoro or Nyandoro. But unlike other totems that are tied clearly to one animal, the Nhari story is layered. Depending on one branch, region, and oral tradition, the Nhari identity connects to three powerful symbols. The giraffe, known as Twiza, the elephant, known as Nzo, the Eland, known as Nuka, Mofu, or in some contexts linked to Shava traditions. This does not make the Nhari identity confused. It makes it historical, because people move, clans split, names change, royal disputes happen, wars happen, intermarriages happen. And as communities migrate, their symbols sometimes shift to reflect new alliances, new victories, new settlements, and new identities. That is why the Nhari totem must be understood as a journey, not a single point, not a simple label, but a long road through Dande, Mbire, Chiwota, Shinonana, Marondera, and beyond. The Nhari lineage includes several important subtotems, praise names, and identity markers. Among these are Unendoro, Nyamashisha, Chioro, Mukauru, Maokomavi. Each of these names carries its own history. Each one opens a door into a different branch of the Nhari story. Unendoro points to us directly to the Ndoro, the white corneous shell, a symbol of wealth, prestige, beauty, and spiritual status. Nyamashisha is strongly associated with the elephant branch of Nhari, especially those who become linked with Unendoro. Chihoro connects to family lines, found in places such as Marondera and other regions where Nhari descendants settled. Mugauru carries the sense of age, seniority, and deep-rooted identity. Maokomavi suggests skilled hands, ancient hands, working hands, the hands of people who were not merely survivors, but makers, traders, builders, and negotiators. When someone says Nhari Unendoro, they are not only naming a totem, they are invoking a whole archive of migration, trade, nobility, and adaptation. One of the oldest remembered connections of the Nhari people is with the giraffe, known as Twiza. In praise and memory, the giraffe may be also called Furiramdenga, the one who grazes in the sky. What a powerful image. An animal whose feet stand on earth, but whose head reaches into the heavens. An animal that sees far. An animal that moves with elegance, height, patience, and quiet authority. The giraffe does not need to roar like a lion. It does not need to charge like a buffalo. Its power is in vision. It sees danger before others see it. It reaches where others cannot reach. It feeds where others cannot feed. It survives not by noise, but by awareness. This is why some oral traditions describe the original Nhari or Nyandoro people as connected to the giraffe. And this is also why the original branch is sometimes praised as people of intelligence, the smart ones, the sharp-witted ones, those who see far, those who understand what others miss, those who can stand in one place and read the horizon. In this sense, the giraffe is not just an animal. It is a philosophy. It teaches that wisdom is height, not height of arrogance, but height of vision. The Nhari Unendoro is, in this interpretation, to be someone who looks beyond the immediate, someone who understands that today's decision becomes tomorrow's inheritance. But the Nhari story does not remain only with the giraffe. At some point in the ancestral journey, during migration from the Dande area, a major split occurred. According to oral tradition, a prince who had been stripped of his succession rights changed the clan animal from the giraffe to the elephant. But he kept the Nyandoro name. Why? To maintain connection, to preserve identity, and also, according to tradition, to allow intermarriage between the groups that had separated. This is where we begin to see the complexity of totems. A totem is about identity, yes, but it is also about marriage rules. It is about who is considered kin. It is about who can marry whom. It is about how society prevents close blood relations from intermarrying. So when a branch changes its animal while keeping certain praise names, it may be doing more than changing a symbol. It may be negotiating survival. It may be protecting royal dignity after a dispute. It may be creating space for new alliances. It may be preserving kinship while allowing social flexibility. This elephant branch became known in many places as Nhari Unendoro or Nyamashisha, and they are considered close relatives of the Nzo Samanyanga elephant clan. The elephant brings a different layer of the symbolism. Where the giraffe gives us vision, the elephant gives us memory. Where the giraffe gives us height, the elephant gives us weight. Where the giraffe sees far, the elephant remembers far. The elephant is strength. It is royal presence. It is family protection. It is dignity. It is an animal that moves slowly, but when it decides to move, the whole forest must make way. So in the Nhari story, the elephant branch tells us that identity is not fixed in one moment. Identity can carry wounds, a prince denied succession, a people moving from one place to another, a symbol changed, but a name preserved, a history reshaped, but not erased. That is the power of Nhari Unendoro. Then we come to another layer, the Eland connection. Some Nhari branches identify with Nuka, a term used for Eland in certain northern dialects or specific clan traditions. In many Shona-speaking areas, the Eland is more commonly known as Mofu or associated with Shava. But among some Nhari branches, Nuka becomes an important identity marker. Oral traditions suggest that during further migrations and battles in the Dande region, some Nhari groups adopted the Eland totem after defeating Eland totem groups. This kind of tradition is important because it shows how deeply history and symbolism are tied together. Sometimes a clan's identity changes because of migration, sometimes because of marriage, sometimes because of conquest, sometimes because of spiritual instruction, sometimes because a defeated group is absorbed into a larger lineage. The Eland itself carries rich meaning. It is graceful. It is alert. It is a creature of endurance. It is not as loud as the lion, or as massive as the elephant, but it survives through sensitivity, speed, and awareness. The Eland teaches balance. It reminds us that nobility is not always loud. Sometimes nobility is calm. Sometimes prestige is carried quietly. Sometimes the strongest people are not those who dominate every room, but those who move through life with grace, patience, and survival intelligence. So when Nhari connects to Nuka, Mofu, or Eland identity, it adds yet another layer to the lineage. Vision from the giraffe, memory and power from the elephant, and grace and endurance from the eland. Now we must speak of one of the most important symbols in the Nhari identity, the Ndoro. The Ndoro is a wide corner shell disc. In old Zimbabwean societies, the Ndoro was not an ordinary ornament. It was a symbol of wealth, a symbol of status, a symbol of spiritual coolness, a symbol of elite identity. To be called Unendoro is to be connected to this white shell, to be one who has the Ndoro, to be marked by prestige, to be remembered as a people who understood the language of trade, wealth, and social influence. The Ndoro was not merely decoration. It spoke before the person spoke. It told others that the person belonged to a lineage of importance. It suggested access, connection, trade, authority, and refinement. This is why the Nhari are also remembered as Vendoro Chena, those of the white shell. And this whiteness is not just color, it is meaning. White, in many African spiritual traditions, is associated with peace, cleansing, ancestral coolness, and sacred presence. So when we hear Unendoro, we are hearing a name that carries both material wealth and spiritual symbolism. It is about trade, but it is also about dignity. It is about status, but also about responsibility. Because wealth without responsibility destroys a people. But wealth guarded by wisdom can build a lineage. Another powerful praise name connected to the Nhari is Vazungu Vedande, the Portuguese of Dande. Now, this does not mean that the Nhari people are literally Portuguese. It means they were associated with the wealth, trade, influence, and sophistication that people saw in foreign traders. In the Dande and Zambezi Valley region, Nhari ancestors are remembered as some of the early tribal merchants who traded ivory and gold with Portuguese traders. This gave them access to imported goods, clothes, beads, shells, possibly metal goods, and other items that carried great value in societies of the time. To be called Vazungu Vedande was to be recognized as people who had entered a wider economic world. They were intermediaries. They understood trade routes. They knew how to negotiate. They were not isolated villagers watching history pass by. They were participants of history. They stood at the meeting point between African wealth and foreign demand, between local authority and external trade, between ivory from the land and goods from across the sea. This is why the Nhari story is not only a clan story, it is also an economic story. It reminds us that long before modern borders, African societies had trade systems, diplomatic relationships, world symbols, and international connections. Our ancestors were not waiting to be discovered. They were already thinking, trading, negotiating, adapting, and building power. Perhaps the most beautiful and poetic identity associated with the Nhari Unendoro people is Vana Vejirajena, the children of the white cloth. This title is especially connected to the Nyandoro branch. It distinguishes them from many other clans in Zimbabwean oral memory. But why white cloth? Because at a time when many groups still wore animal skins and locally produced forms of clothing, Nhari ancestors in the Dande region were remembered as among the first to wear and trade imported white cotton cloth. The white cloth became a sign of wealth, a sign of contact, a sign of refinement, a sign that these were people connected to trade and prestige. But the white cloth also carried spiritual meaning. White represents purity, peace, cleanliness, coolness, calmness. In praise poetry, to call someone a child of the white cloth is to elevate them. It is to say they come from a people of dignity, a people of grace, a people whose ancestors clothed themselves not only in fabric, but in status. When praised, a Nhari or Nyandoro person might hear, Maita varidande, vana vejirajena. Thank you, those in Dande, children of the white cloth. That line alone carries centuries. Dande is not just a place in that praise. It is a memory land, a cradle, a marketplace, a battlefield, a valley of ancestors. And the white cloth is not just clothing. It is identity made visible. To understand the Nhari identity deeply, we must pause on the meaning of white. In many African traditions, white is not empty. White is full of meaning. White can represent peace. It can represent ancestral blessing. It can represent spiritual clarity. It can represent purity of intention. It can represent the cooling of conflict. This is why white clothes are often present in spiritual contexts. Why white beards and shells carry sacred meaning. Why the Ndoro and the white cloth sit so powerfully together in the Nhari story. The Ndoro is white. The cloth is white. Both are connected to trade. Both are connected to prestige. Both are connected to spiritual coolness. Both say, this is a people of status. But not only status, a people expected to carry themselves with dignity. To be Nhari Unendoro is not to merely claim a beautiful praise name. It is to be reminded that your ancestors were seen as people of refinement. So your conduct must also be refined. Your words must carry weight. Your hands must build. Your mind must be sharp. Your presence must bring dignity. Among the praise names of the Nhari people is Maoko Mavi. This is a name that deserves reflection. Hands are powerful in African symbolism. Hands build homes. Hands bless children. Hands prepare food. Hands hold spears. Hands trade goods. Hands receive gifts. Hands bury the dead. Hands raise the living. To call a people Maokomavi is to remember their hands. Ancient hands. Skilled hands. Hands that knew the weight of ivory. Hands that touched the Ndoro. Hands that handled white cloth. Hands that negotiated trade. Hands that carried lineage forward. Hands that survived migration. Hands that built after conflict. This praise name reminds us that history is not only made by kings and warriors. History is also made by hands. The hands of mothers, the hands of traders, the hands of healers, the hands of craftsmen, the hands of elders, the hands of children who carry what they are taught. When the Nhari are praised as Maokomavi, we are hearing respect of a people whose skill was not just in speech, but in action. The ancestral roots of the Nhari people are strongly associated with Dande and Mbire in the Zambezi Valley. These regions are important in Zimbabwean memory because they are connected to migration, trade, spirit mediums, chieftainship, histories, and old political movements. Dande is not just geography. Dande is an ancestral theater, a place where lineages formed, split, fought, traded, and remembered themselves. From these roots, major Nhari groups eventually settled in Chiwota and Chinonana. These areas became important centers of Nyandoro identity, with Chief Nyandoro associated with this lineage. Another major concentration of Vachiworo and Nyandoro families is found around Marondera. So when we speak of Nhari identity today, we are not speaking only of the past. We're speaking of living communities, families, chiefdoms, surnames, villages, people who still carry these names, these praises, and these memories. The route from Dande to Chiwota, Chinonana, and Marondera tells us something important. Totems move with people. Even when people leave ancestral lands, they carry the land in their praise names. They carry the river in their speech. They carry the old trade routes in their identity. They carry the white cloth in their memory. With any totem, we must speak carefully about taboos, because taboos are not jokes. They are not superstition in simple sense. They are cultural laws. They teach respect. They teach restraint. They teach identity. They remind a person that they belong to something larger than themselves. For Nhari people, taboos may vary depending on the branch. A branch connected to the giraffe may avoid eating giraffe. A branch connected to the elephant may avoid eating elephant. A branch connected to the eland may avoid eland. Because the Nhari identity has multiple animal associations, families may differ in what they observe. This is why it is always important for people to ask their elders. Your family praise poetry matters. Your branch matters. Your region matters. Your grandmother's explanation matters. Your grandfather's memory matters. A written list can guide you, but the living voice of the family completes the knowledge. The deeper meaning of the taboo is this: do not consume what represents you. Do not destroy what carries your name. Do not mock what your ancestors revered. Do not treat identity casually. The taboo teaches that humans are not separate from nature. The animal is not only an animal, it is a mirror. It is a teacher. It is a reminder. It is a boundary. In modern Zimbabwe, many young people know their surnames but not their praise names. They know their national identity but not their clan journey. They know where they live now but not where their people moved from. The Nhari story matters because it reminds us that identity is layered. You can be one people with many symbols. You can carry giraffe, elephant, and eland memories without contradiction because each symbol tells part of the journey. The giraffe teaches vision. The elephant teaches memory and strength. The eland teaches grace and endurance. The Ndoro teaches prestige and spiritual coolness. The white cloth teaches refinement, trade, and dignity. Dande teaches origin. Migration teaches adaptation. Praise poetry teaches continuity. And the living family teaches belonging. In a world where people often reduce identity to a surname, the Nhari story says, go deeper. Ask for the praise name. Ask for the branch. Ask why they say Ndoronya Mashisha. Ask why they say Chigoro. Ask why they say Maokumavi. Ask why they say Vanave Jirajena. Because every name is a doorway, and every doorway opens into history. When we forget totems, we do not forget animals. We forget social rules. We forget migration. We forget who could marry whom. We forget old alliances. We forget praise poetry. We forget the meaning of names. We forget how our ancestors interpreted nature. We forget that Zimbabwean identity was never shallow. It never was just a tribe. It was never just a surname. It was a network of memory. Totems helped organize society. They preserved history before books became common. They encouraged relationships. They carried ethics. They taught humility. Because when someone praises you properly, they are not just flattering you. They are reminding you of who you are supposed to be. If someone says, Maita Nhari Unendoro, they are not only greeting you, they are calling your ancestors into the room. If someone says, Maita Varidande, Vana Vejirajena, they are not only praising your family, they are reminding you of white cloth, Ndoro, trade, dignity, and responsibility. To forget that is to lose part of the map. So what does the Nhari Totem teach us? It teaches us that identity can evolve without disappearing. It teaches us that a people can move from giraffe to elephant to eland and still remain connected by memory. It teaches that wealth is not only money. Wealth can be cloth, shells, trade routes, respect, wisdom, reputation, praise. It teaches us that whiteness, in this cultural sense, is not about race. It is about spiritual coolness, cleanliness, peace, prestige, and dignity. It teaches us that the smartest people are not always the loudest. Like giraffe, they see far. It teaches us that the strongest people are not always violent. Like the elephant, they carry memory and protect the family. It teaches us that graceful people can survive difficult times. Like the eland, they move with alertness and endurance. And most importantly, it teaches us that names matter. A name like Unendoro is not random. A name like Nyamashisha is not empty. A name like Chihoro is not just a surname. A name like Maokomavi is not just decoration. These are fragments of a long historical song. And when we speak them, we keep that song alive. Let us return to Tapiwa, the boy from Dundee. Years after the elder placed the white cloth on his shoulder, Tapiwa became a man known for wisdom. When disputes arose, people called him. When traders arrived, people asked him to speak. When young people forgot their praise names, he reminded them. One day, a child asked him, Sekuru, are we giraffe, elephant, or eland? The old man smiled. He looked toward the horizon, where the trees stood tall and the evening light turned the land into gold. He said, we are the ones who remember. The child frowned. But which animal is ours? The old man replied, the giraffe taught us to see far. The elephant taught us to remember. The eland taught us to survive with grace. But the Ndoro taught us dignity. And the white cloth taught us to walk cleanly among people. Then he touched the child's shoulder and said, never reduce yourself to one word when your ancestors gave you a whole story. That is the lesson of Nhari Unendoro, a people of Dundee, a people of the white cloth, a people whose history moved through animals, trade, migration, conflict, and prestige. So today we say, Maita Nhari, Maita Unendoro, Maita Nyamashisha, Maita Chihoro, Maita Mgauru, Maita Maokomai, Maita Verdande, Maita Vanavejirajina. Thank you, children of the white cloth. May your story never be forgotten. You have been listening to the Native Child Podcast, Zimbabwean Pride. If this episode helped you reconnect with your roots, share it with someone from the Nhari, Nyandoro, Chihoro, Nyamashisha, or Unendoro lineage. And if you carry this totem, ask your elders. Ask about your branch. Ask about your praise names. Ask about Dande. Ask about the white cloth. Ask about the Ndoro. Because your heritage survives when we speak it. Until next time, remember, your totem is not just a name. It is history breathing through you.